basically what the whole point of the 12 chapters was to show us that although there's a multiplicity of created beings, everything in essence is just an expression of God's energy, power, wisdom. And the way in which Hashem manifests into the world is what we're going to speak about in chapter 12, but we've spoken about it in many chapters before, is how Hashem communicates his energy into the creations via his articulations, his speech, and specifically when Hashem, so to speak, speaks, he's speaking through the format of the 22 letters, the 22 Hebrew letters. And earlier, Chaim Miller said that each letter, in a way, is like a packet of energy. The Alter Rebbe is going to tell us that even the shapes of the letters define the kind of energy that's being channeled into various different creations. And it's not like we haven't spoken about it before in previous chapters, but in this chapter, it's going to be even more specific about different creations, how they all come in categories. Like you could have the categories of animals, and then let there be birds and animals, or birds and fishes of the sea. And then those are general categories, and then all the different species are subcategories, and how their energy derives from the category heading, so to speak. So let's go inside, and we'll read it inside, and then we will conclude this part of Tanya. Okay, so I just want to make it, yeah. So although there are only 22 letters, they are able to create a vast multitude of creatures, for the creatures are divided into categories: general, human or animal, and particular. The animal world, in turn, comprises different species, birds, fish, etc. And all of this division comes about, the Alter Rebbe tells us, really, and it's very much like Lego. You give a kid 22 Lego blocks, and from those Lego blocks, he can make all different kinds of shapes and different kinds of things. So all of the different species, the different animals, the different fishes, etc., they all come by changes in the combinations, substitutions, and transpositions of the letters, as was explained. So they all come al yedei shinuye hatserufim vechulufim ve'utmurot kanizkar la'ayil. So everything is coming, the aleph bais are the channels through which Hashem's energy is coming into the world. Okay. For every letter is a flow from an individual particular life force and power. He kol ot, each letter, he hamshachat chayut v'koach miyuchad prati. Each letter is a flow from an individual particular life force and power. Okay. And then when many letters, many different powers and life forces are combined to form a word, then in addition to the numerous kinds of powers and life forces which issue forth according to the number of letters in the word, so we know that Hebrew is very holy language, and we know that for each letter is a gematria, a number. Right. And then it's going to be important how many letters are in that word. What's the first letter of the word? What are the different letters of the word? So each one is according to the number of letters in the word. And there is also, in addition, transcending all the particular powers, the flow of a higher power and a general life force which contains and is equivalent to all the various individual powers and life forces of the letters and transcends them all. So even though each letter is a specific channel, each letter is in a way channeling a specific kind of life force. Above all of that is this transcending, all-inclusive life force. So everything, in a way, is coming from this unified source, and it's going down into the created world through these different channels of these different letters. But to keep in mind that everything is stemming from a unified source, that everything is coming from one higher power and general life force. And then everything gets created. These letters combine, and there's different created beings, general and particular. And every single one of the 22 letters of the Torah is a flow of an individual particular life force and power, which does not flow through any other letter. So really the Hebrew letters are very interesting and very exciting. They're not just letters. So if we read this paragraph, Ulefi shekol ot va'ot mi chaf bais otiot haTorah, every letter of the 22 letters of the Torah, he hamshachas chayot v'koach miyuchad prati she'eno nimshach ba'ot acheret. Each letter is channeling a particular life force and a particular power which no other letter can channel in the same way. That's why they have different shapes. That's why the energy is kind of brought down into the world. Oh, there she is. We get each letter is channeling down the life force in its particular way. Lakach gam tmunatan bichtav. Also the way, the shape, the picture of what's written of the letter. Kol ot hi bitmuna miyuchedet pratit. Each letter has a specific and distinctive shape, and that shape is giving definition to a different reality. For example, if we look at a base looks like a bayit. It looks like a house. It's the beginning letter of a house, but it actually looks like a house. Or the lamed, the word lilmod is to learn, and the lamed sort of connects the bottom world to the top world. Or mem for mikveh, it's kind of, it's for mayim, it's a container. If we would learn into the letters, which might actually be a wonderful thing to do.
Oh yeah, I've done it, but I would love to do it again because it's always so much, to.
Right. That the shapes of the letters, are testimonies to the actual energies of the letter. So each one is specific and distinctive, indicating the pattern of the flow and the manifestation of the light and life force and power, which is revealed and flows through this letter. So every single created being is something that is giving testimony to the life force within it, which is the life force of Hashem, each thing in its own distinctive and unique way. And each thing, a combination of letters, each combination of letters allowing life force and koach of this shepherd to come into the vessel in its own distinct way. And that's why also our names are so important, our Hebrew names. If you Menucha Rochel, or you Simcha Shalom, or you whatever you are, that is going to have bearing on the kind of energetic life force that your being holds, given that that's the name that you have. That's why people say, even, it is a big thing to use your Hebrew name. And if you don't use your Hebrew name, to at least say it aloud, or someone should call it aloud to you at least once a day.
Oh,
So
okay.
we can do that now. We got a Shoshana at the bottom, a Shoshana.
Yep.
And Sandra, what's your Hebrew name again?
Shoshana.
So we got two Shoshanas.
We're a thorny bunch.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we got two Shoshanas, and it's interesting because, you know, both of you share energetic reality that's held by that name. Do you have more than one name, or you both just Shoshana?
We have Shoshana Basha.
Shoshana Basha. But Basha, but just Shoshana Basha.
Right.
Uh-huh. Okay, so yours has a slightly different
Energy.
flavor to it. So the way this Shefa comes and how it flows down and is revealed from the attributes of the Holy One, blessed be He, and His will and His wisdom and so on. So Echu Nimshach v'nitzgaleh midotav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'rotzono v'chochmato v'chule. So Hashem's will and his wisdom is filling into everything through this Shefa and through these letters and through these utterances. Now, what the Tanya is going to do now is it's going to give an example, because before it said that when everything is rooted to those first 10 utterances, let there be light, let there be this, let there be that. One of the utterances was, let there be a rakia, the firmament, Yahi rakia vagome, right? At the very
dew
of creation, there was, let there be a rakia, and then the waters split, and the heavenly waters went up, and the earth waters went down. So what the Alter Rebbe is going to say is that when it says, let there be a firmament, there isn't just one firmament. That becomes like the heading articulation, almost like the Abba, the father articulation. And from that will come actually all the distinctive elements, because it actually tells us, in fact, in the Zohar, that there were 7 heavens created, that there's not just one heaven. Actually, I would like to share with you what those 7 are, because here in the Tanya, he mentions 3 of them, but they're actually 7, and I'll just read them to you. The first one is called a vilon, which is a curtain. And the reason that it's called a curtain is because a curtain or a blind rolls up or rolls down or gets opened and closed. And it says that this first level is kind of a level which conceals the higher realms from human perception. It's called vilon. But some people who are very holy, they manage to penetrate those higher realms. So for them, the curtain opens and it closes. So it's called vilon. The next one is rakia, which is sort of the one that Yahi rakia, it's kind of connected to the generic one. The sky. And this is what was talked about in creation, the expanse of vault, which separates the waters above from the waters below. And it also says where the sun, moon, and stars are found. So that's in the second heaven. And then there's another level called the shachakim, the clouds, where it says where the divine blessings are gathered. And they gathered, and that's the place from where the man fell. So it's a level in Shemaim where Hashem is able to bunch together different things that he wants to kind of bless us with. And then there's something called the Zvul, the abode. It's a celestial abode of the divine presence, and it contains the heavenly Yerushalayim, the heavenly Beis Hamikdash, the heavenly altar, So I'm just reading these out because it's kind of
Wow.
interesting, but in the level we've heard of the seven heavens, so it's kind of interesting to hear them articulated. Then there's one called a ma'on, which is a name, like a hotel, a ma'on. The domain of souls and the righteous, where the groups of angels recite songs at night. So the souls of the righteous, they're hanging out in the level called
A
ma'on.
hotel, a Ritz
Yeah,
Carlton.
holy hotel. And then there's the machon. We almost done. We got just two more. The machon, the foundation, the physical base of creation, which contains storehouses of, I read it, punishing snow and volts of hail. I'm not quite sure, like what that is. And then,
like leftover from the plague. I mean,
yeah, I guess not just from the plague, when we need those things, there's a place from which they come. Punishing snow and hail. And then the last one is the Aravot, the meadow where divine light and the righteous dwell. And it contains righteousness, justice, charity, the treasures of peace, the treasures of blessing, the souls of the righteous, the spirits and souls that are to be created, and the dew that the Holy One will use to revive the dead. So that's come from the level called the meadow, the Aravot. The Aravot. Anyway, so this is interesting, but it's beside the point, because the point that the Tanya is making is Hashem says, let there be a firmament. And from those letters of let there be a firmament comes all the subsections. So the Tanya speaks about a couple of them, right? Kama Amar Rabbeinu Zechronon Levracha, like our rabbis have said, Shechakim, that's the one I said was clouds. Shebor Rachaim Omdot V'tochanut Man Letzadikim. So from here, the millstones that grind man for the tzaddikim. So it's one of the levels that we spoke about. Or it says, the Tanya tells us about another one of the levels that I mentioned, Zvul, Shebo Yerushalayim, Ubeit HaMikdash, Uhamizbeach v'chule, the holy temple and the Mizbeach, like I said. Or Machon, Shebo Otzrot Sheleg, V'otzrot Barad v'chule. So the Tanya just says 3. I gave you all 7, but the Tanya just says, so it says, even though there's 7 firmaments, all of them are really being fed and sustained, and the wording for each of the different details, the different levels of firmament, really they're all coming about, and they're all coming through the general proclamation, Yahi Rakia v'chule, from the general proclamation. And from that general proclamation, then we get, sub headings and different categories, different details. For every change in a combination is the intermixing and interweaving of the powers and life forces in a different form. Now, the next thing that Tanya is going to do is it's also going to say that when we have a word in Hebrew, the first letter of that word is going to influence the nature of the word. So if the word starts with a base, the nature of that word is going to somehow bear the imprint of the starting letter more prominently than other letters, because each letter has a personality. Each letter has an energy. For example, if we've spoken in previous chapters about the mouth and how different letters are formed through different parts of the mouth. So if you think of a sound, and the sound is like a ah, that's a sound of chesed, right? Ah, it's like an opening sound. But if I say then the mem is a closing sound. So in the aleph base, there's going to be letters that are more chesed because they're more opening flow letters, and then there's going to be those more gevura letters which are more closing letters, or some of the letters are articulated in the throat, some of them need the lips, some of them need the tongue. Each of these different letters, and when a letter starts a word, are being affected by these different things. And when people learn Kabbalistically and more deeply, so then literally where the tongue is going in the mouth, what the lips are doing, all of this is influencing the kind of energy of the word. So the Tanya is giving us kind of like a heads up of that. So then it says, and then Shekol ot hakodemet, but seruf, the letter that is the first in the combination, what I just said, he hagoveret vehi haikar bivria zu. So the first letter is in a way the essence of the word. So that's also an interesting thing. Not only is the letter, not only is the name of something important, but when we're thinking about all the words that we know for all the different objects, each word is dominated by the first letter. The energy of the word is sort of dominated by the first letter of the word. So if somebody wants to read this little note here, since for example,
aleph is the first letter of the word Eben. It is the dominant force in the created being that bears this name. If it is a letter stemming from the attribute of chesed, kindness, then that attribute will predominate. If it is a letter of gevura, severity, a different attribute will prevail.
Right. So as I explained. And then it says that the other letters that come after that first letter, they subordinate to that first letter and are included in its light.
So if somebody's name, I don't know, it starts with a mem, okay, like Malka for whatever reason, okay? So that doesn't, I mean, because you just said mem could be, it could be closed, like a constraint or what, but that doesn't define that person.
No, that we have a lot of wonderful words, Mashiach, Melech.
Right, true.
Yeah, I was just trying to give an example, but don't be too literal about it, because I didn't give you enough information, and I don't have enough information, but we have a lot of wonderful words beginning with mem.
So it doesn't define you, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so all of these letters come and they have different combinations, and we combine different letters, for example, and then the different creations that come about, there's sort of a lower level from the starting level. So the substituted letters, by way of illustration, resemble the light that shines upon the earth at night from the moon, and the moonlight is from the sun. So it's telling us that, in a way, these combinations of letters are holding a reflection, in a way, of the light of Hashem, the way that the moon holds a reflection of the sun. Right,
because the moon never actually goes in, and it is a reflection of the sun.
So the light which is on the earth is the light reflected from the light of the sun. Exactly so, allegorically speaking, the letters comprising the utterance are the aggregate flow of the life force and the light and the power that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's creating the worlds from nothingness, and to give them life and to sustain them as long as such shall be his blessed will. And from this flow and from this mighty radiance of the utterances, we get derivations and offshoots to shine and issue forth. And so the offshoots are kind of almost like reflections of the initial statement. So let there be a firmament, and then there's the offshoots. There's the vilon, the rakia, the shechakim, the zvul, the ma'on, the machon. They're all different offshoots from that initial radiance. They kind of reflections from that. Is that clear that we have a kind of
Mhm.
major category and then we have offshoots of the category? Okay.
Does this correlate at all to this, I guess the 7 worlds that were made before ours? Do you think, do they have any correlation to that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Um, and okay. And then basically we're talking about the fact that, and we've been talking about this throughout the whole
Safer?
hour of Yichud Ve Emunah, that everything is kind of coming from the source, and it's a step down into creation, a step down into creation. So the radiance is kind of descending level by level in a chain of descent into finally its kind of resting place where it's an object, a stone, the earth, or whatever. And then the name Even or Afar, they are results of a category that came as a more general category, but letters were exchanged and rearranged to get finally your letter Even for stone, Afar for dust. And so it's transpositions and substitutions, transpositions and substitutions. So every word, every object, every created being is holding the life force of the one, the creator, the Ein Od Milvado. But in order for it to have its existence, it's got these letters that have been substituted, exchanged, mixed, reorganized. So we get stone, we get dust, we get parrot, panther, tiger, or whatever. Every single thing in the created world is basically a result of reorganization of those fundamental basic letters, transpositions, substitutions, but we basically working with this flow of energy coming down into, what was said in the first day of creation, the first 6 days of creation. That becomes kind of almost like, when I think of it, I think a little bit like the Shabbat Malachot. You have 39 categories of work, and then from those 39 basic categories, you get all the different types of work that we can't do on Shabbat. And here too, we have the 10 utterances of creation. And then from those categories, we get everything subdividing and the letters mixing and substituting and reorganizing to get every little detail of created reality stemming forth from that starting point of the utterances, which are, even the utterances are a channel from the essential oneness of the energy of Hashem, who starts off undifferentiated, all-encompassing isness, as I've said before, and then through those articulations, we start to get this process of formation through the channel of the letters into reality and into the created world and created beings. And that's what I think it's saying, and that's what I understand it to be saying. And then at the end it says, and that nishlam chelek shnia be'ezrat Hashem yitbarach v'yitaleh, that this actually concludes the second part of the Tanya. With the help of Hashem, may he be blessed and exalted. So that is actually, that brings Shaar Yichud and Emunah to a conclusion.
Bravo.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it
Wow.
seems to me that this last part is a little bit repetitive from parts we've done before, but it did give us the idea that the first letter of a word, is defining its nature. We did get the idea of general categories of created items, and then the specifics are transpositions and exchanges of the letters from a general, category. As an example, the Alter Rebbe brought the idea of let there be a rakia, that Yehi rakia v'chule, and then how there's 7 distinct heavens with their own name, and how there's the general creation, and then from the general comes the specific derivatives. And that to keep in mind at all times that all of what we see created is just vessels holding this energy of Hashem, which is really me, you, and everything around us, which is quite astounding. And hopefully through learning this, we have a little more detail of how that all became manifest into the world.
I think they would have to change an Uncle Moshe song from up, up, down, down, right, left, and all around to inside your neshama in your body, in and out your ears and nose.
Yeah.
That I learned, and I think that the word that comes to mind with learning these last few months on the topic is the word deepening. Deepening my understanding of Hashem and his awesomeness and bigness. It really expanded for me my life in a way.
Well, I'm very grateful that you got that from it. And I think another thing, at least for me, the idea of how holy we are, like we are all made of this holy energetic substance. We all connected in that, we all of that, we all share that, we all just different manifestations of that divine life force and divine energy, and to kind of attempt to live as if we conscious of that and to be that, to live into our true nature, which is God, made of God. We God stuff. Our stuff is God. God,
It's almost as good as
it's
almost as good as isness.
Yes, it's we are made of God stuff. And that's pretty amazing. And so that really could influence the way we relate to other people, the way we relate to nature, the way we relate to the plants, the trees, the fishes, the birds, the sea. Everything is just another manifestation of God that got its definition and its shape and its identity through the letters that are creating its container. We happen to be human beings contained in a body, and we have our particular container, but every created thing is just a different container for the same essential stuff. Although we look very different, we're just different manifestations of that essential stuff. So that's why the 12 chapters of trying to get us to understand the unity of all creation, which hopefully we have a little more of a grasp of now than we did before. And so there's not really a need to carry on, because I think that does conclude for today. And
Wednesday, we hope that the weather's okay.
Yes, hopefully the weather will be okay.
If not, we'll do it online, right? If not, we'll do it on Zoom, right?
I guess so, but we can't share the fruit on Zoom.
No, I don't go to party.
Yeah, no, you're going to come. I try to come.
There's nothing Wednesday. It's clear, all clear.
Yeah,
and it's all clear.
And following the directives from that letter that I got from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, first do Shaar Yichud Ve Emunah, and then secondly do Shaar Teshuvah. So I guess that means that next week we'll be beginning the Shaar Teshuvah, which is also part of Tanya, but it's not the 52 first chapters. There's the 52 chapters, there's Shaar Yichud Ve Emunah and Shaar Teshuvah. So we will be going on to Shaar Teshuvah, and once we complete that, then we'll decide if we want to go into the Tanya itself. Because
Okay.
Shaar Teshuvah,
Wild.
Shaar Teshuvah is also just 12 chapters. It's also a short treatise. And then the 52 chapters of Tanya obviously is a lot bigger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. This is
Okay.
oh,
All right.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you Wednesday night.
Yes.
Looking forward. Thank you.
Bye-bye.